In the early hours of October 25, 1944, the waters off Samar in the Philippines were calm, but beneath the surface, history was about to be written in fire and steel. This is the story of the USS Johnston, a small destroyer that faced impossible odds and fought with unmatched courage in one of the most dramatic naval battles of World War II, the Battle off Samar. The Johnston was a Fletcher-class destroyer, sleek and fast, commissioned in October 1943. At just over 370 feet long and displacing 2,100 tons, she was lightly armored, designed for speed and maneuverability rather than slugging it out with battleships. Her armament included 5 5-inch guns and 10 torpedo tubes, formidable for her size, but nothing compared to the massive guns of Japanese battleships. Her crew numbered 327 men, led by Commander Ernest E. Evans, a man whose leadership and bravery would become legendary. Evans was known for his boldness. At the Johnston's commissioning, he told his crew, "This is going to be a fighting ship. I intend to go in harm's way." Those words would echo across the Pacific less than a year later. By October 1944, the United States was deep into its campaign to liberate the Philippines. The Japanese, desperate to halt the American advance, launched Operation Shogo, a complex plan to lure U.S. forces away and strike the invasion fleet. The plan culminated in the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history. One part of this battle, the Battle off Samar, would become the stage for Johnston's last stand. On the morning of October 25th, Task Unit 7743, known as Taffy 3, was providing air support for troops landing on Leyte. Taffy 3 was a small escort carrier group, lightly armed and protected by just 3 destroyers, the Johnston, Hole, and Heermann, and 4 destroyer escorts. They were not expecting a major surface engagement. But at 6:45 a.m., lookouts spotted the masts of Japanese warships on the horizon. It was Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force, 4 battleships, including the mighty Yamato, 8 cruisers, and 11 destroyers, closing in fast. The Americans were outgunned and outnumbered. The Japanese force had guns that could hurl shells weighing over a ton, while Taffy 3's carriers were slow and vulnerable. Retreat was the only logical option. But Commander Evans had other ideas. Without waiting for orders, Evans swung Johnston toward the enemy. He ordered full speed ahead and prepared to launch a torpedo attack against the Japanese cruisers. As Johnston raced forward, her guns opened fire, scoring hits on the heavy cruiser Kumano. Then, at a range of 10,000 yards, Evans ordered a spread of 10 torpedoes. One struck Kumano, blowing off her bow and forcing her out of the fight. But Johnston was now in the thick of it. Japanese battleships and cruisers turned their massive guns on the lone destroyer. Shells rained down, tearing through her thin armor. A hit disabled her steering, another knocked out her aft guns. Yet Evans kept fighting. He maneuvered manually, using engine power to steer, and continued firing at the enemy. As the battle raged, Johnston became a shield for the escort carriers. She laid down smoke to obscure them and engaged Japanese ships at point-blank range. At one point, Evans directed fire at a Japanese destroyer just 6,000 yards away, scoring repeated hits. Despite being battered and burning, Johnston refused to quit. The courage of Johnston's crew inspired the rest of Taffy 3. Other destroyers and escorts joined the fight, launching torpedoes and firing their guns. American aircraft from the carriers dove in, strafing and bombing the Japanese ships. The ferocity of the defense shocked Kurita. Believing he faced a much larger force, he hesitated. Then, fearing further losses, he ordered his fleet to withdraw. The audacity of Taffy 3 and the sacrifice of ships like Johnston had turned the tide. But for Johnston, the cost was fatal. By 9:45 a.m., she was dead in the water, listing heavily, fires raging. Evans gave the order to abandon ship. Minutes later, Johnston rolled over and sank, taking 186 men with her. Commander Evans was last seen on the fantail, helping wounded sailors. He went down with his ship and was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor for his heroism. The battle off Samar was a stunning example of courage against overwhelming odds. The destroyers and escorts of Taffy 3 fought so fiercely that they convinced a vastly superior enemy to retreat. Their stand saved the invasion fleet and thousands of lives. And at the heart of that stand was the USS Johnston, a small ship with a big heart. For decades, Johnston lay in the depths of the Philippine Sea, a silent witness to history. In 2019, explorers located her wreck nearly 21,000 feet below the surface, the deepest shipwreck ever found. Her guns still pointed toward where the enemy had been, a testament to her final fight. The story of the USS Johnston is more than a tale of war. It is a story of leadership, sacrifice, and the indomitable spirit of those who refuse to surrender, no matter the odds. In the words of naval historian Samuel Eliot Morrison, in no engagement in its entire history has the United States Navy shown more gallantry, guts, and gumption than in those 2 hours off Samar. Today, we remember the men of the Johnston and Taffy 3, not for the size of their ships, but for the size of their courage. Against the greatest odds, they stood, they fought, and they wrote one of the most heroic chapters in naval history. Thanks for watching. If you learned anything, or if I at least entertained you today, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing. The almighty algorithm decides who gets recommended my videos based on the amount of views versus likes and subscriptions. I wish I didn't have to ask, but please do consider pressing like and subscribe.